Southwest and American announce mandatory vaccination for pilots, a beautiful Stearman meets a light pole, and a special contest giving away some free ground school on this episode of Taking Off. Hi everyone, Dan Milliken here with the latest aviation news and information. Before we jump into it, would you like to win a free Gold Seal Ground School account to get through private pilot certificate? Well, stay tuned to find out how Colten Mortgage and Gold Seal are giving away ground schools to 3 lucky winners on this episode. All right, last week, Christy talked about her first IOE flight. That's the first flight a new pilot takes with passengers. It's a huge moment and a milestone for her career. But what's next? Let's check in with her. Christy?
Hey, Dan. Okay, now that I'm done with my IOE or initial operating experience, which is the last phase of my airline training, I am now super junior on the totem pole, and now I get to go on reserve, which means that I get to wait for crew scheduling to call me and give me specific trips to fly. Now, the good news about that is that I have guaranteed days off. They already put those on my schedule for the rest of this month. So I already know what days that they're basically going to be working me, whether that's going to the airport and waiting to be told what I'm flying. In some cases, I might actually be given trips in advance, just depending on what the need is. So when you're super junior like me, you don't get any hard lines or anything like that yet. You're basically at the mercy of crew scheduling, but you know what? I'm ready. I'm super excited. I'm really happy to just be flying the airplane. So that's what's next for me.
Thanks, Christy. Before we hit the hot mess that is vax mandates, we have an update on the FAA training legislation. Quick recap. FAA recently ruled that getting trained in your own plane constitutes carriage of person or property for compensation. It's a whole new extreme set of rules to follow. Well, this went against decades and decades of interpretation protecting flight training. AOPA and EAA and many others, once it was determined that the FAA was going to stick to their guns, have been pushing for their only recourse, a legislative solution. Well, the good news on that front. An amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, was put forward in the House by a bipartisan group, and it was passed. This amendment would restore the 60-year precedent regarding flight training not being paid passenger carriage. What this vote means is that the language is now placed into the NDAA as it moves forward through the legislative process. It's a big step, but it's just an early step. Hopefully, the momentum will continue. Before we hit the vax issue facing pilots, let's talk about the Stearman that hit the light pole. We've all seen the short clip, and Scott at Flywire does an excellent breakdown of what happened. I've flown with Scott in his Stearman. He certainly knows this airplane. I'm including a link to that. In Chambers County, Texas, after a parade, a beautiful Stearman attempts a street takeoff from a rolling start, tries to take off too early, and clips light poles and wires before crashing to the pavement. Fortunately, no one was killed or even injured. And some people take a look at this and try to take away a better flying skills as the lesson, that you need more right rudder, that don't pull back the stick before adequate speed, or back it up along the road a little bit more. Piloting skills is not what caused the crash of this beautiful airplane. It goes back to what I harp on quite a bit, judgment. The plane was destroyed not because of skills or lack of skills, but because of judgment on the ground before the engine was even turned on. And the reason I harp on poor judgment, because I know I'm incredibly prone to bad judgment. My takeaway to make me a better person and a better pilot is always keep this in mind. My judgment could end in this or worse. Okay. The biggest aviation news everyone's talking about. The majors all lining up to comply with Biden's vaccine mandate. Well, all isn't quite correct yet. Delta is pushing back at this point, but it might be a futile effort. You see, millions in government contracts for the majors are driving most of the C-level decisions at the airlines. This is no longer a scientific discussion. It's a political one, but one that right now is hitting the aviation industry, so we will cover it. But fair warning, If you just want to watch planes fly and avoid the political issues, you might want to skip to the end where we'll give away the ground schools. As we launch into this, an unscientific poll on this channel at the time of filming this shows that 2/3 of you are against the mandatory vaccination of pilots. That leaves 1/3 of you that support it. And by talking about this aviation news story, probably going to alienate a few of you. But hey, this is aviation news and affecting thousands of you, so I am covering it. Here goes. Christy reported earlier that United has started the process of terminating almost 600 people who have not taken the vaccine. And now Southwest Airlines announced on October 5th, and American Airlines followed suit, that they will also require all staff to be vaccinated by December 8th. Now that's a workforce of 56,000 people, and they're doing the mandate to comply with Biden's administration rule on larger employees requiring the vax. Southwest reported that because they're a government contractor, for instance, flying relief in Afghanistan recently, they don't have a choice, said Southwest CEO Gary Kelly. The pilot unions have strongly opposed vaccine mandates. There is wiggle room for religious and medical provisions, but even CEO Gary Kelly admitted that they are very limited. And all this after New York City fired 1,400 healthcare workers. 1,400. Whether you agree or disagree about vaccine mandates, 1,400 people in New York City were forced out of their livelihood because they did not want to take the shot. Healthcare workers. These are people that see this stuff day in and day out. They were frontline workers. And now we're poised to see the same thing in December on the cusp of holiday travel. Potentially thousands of pilots being fired in early December. This is going to get ugly. And I know some of you are thinking, just get the stupid shot and move on. And I don't think that's going to happen. The people who don't want big government telling them what to do are not going to give in to big government telling them what to do. It's two immovable forces meeting head on. And I've talked to some pilots who have some real concerns. There are some people who have had adverse reactions to the vaccine and lost their Class 1 medical. That's a potential career ender. I talked to a scientist who is also a pilot, and their take was that the requirements are basically stupid. They don't take into account antibodies from people who have had the virus. They don't take into account a large number of facts, evidence, or science. It's just a blanket mandate to comply or get fired. And this from a scientist pilot who isn't religious or political. They just want to fly and not risk the vaccine when they don't really need it, having recently recovered from the disease itself. And I'll say one more thing and stop. Americans culturally want choices. We value personal freedom. So the more a government pushes something on us Americans, the more we become resistant. It's in our American culture, our DNA. If you give us objective information, not spin, and let us just make our own informed choice, that actually might go better than mandates. I know I can feel the temps rising. Maybe I have COVID. Well, anyway, maybe I need to create a new channel for just the political rants. I don't know. We're keeping it aviation here. Aviation, like the air traffic controllers. They're federal employees, and I personally know several that are working on getting exemptions. But what if they're denied? Will we see a bunch of air traffic controllers terminated? Will we see a bunch of pilots and flight attendants out of jobs after December 8th? This is getting bad and ugly no matter which side of the issue you land on. And one thing for sure, now's never been a better time to become an airline pilot as long as you get the jab. Okay, time for a giveaway, a chance to give back, not just for us and Gold Seal and Colten Mortgage, but a chance for you as well. For this giveaway, nominate in the comments below a student pilot who hasn't done their ground school yet and tell us why they should be one of the 3 winners of the Gold Seal Ground School. Tell us about the student you're nominating. And one rule, you can't nominate yourself. Don't do it. There's plenty of looking out for number 1 right now in the world. Let's look beyond ourselves. Let's look around and see other people and other needs and write about that. Write about them in the comments. And let's look around and see someone who could really use this. Pilot Brant from Colten Mortgage, Christy, and I will look over the comments and select 3 winners on the 5th day after posting this video. So get busy writing about the student that you want to nominate in the comments below. Let's share some aviation. That's it for the week. We are sponsored by Gold Seal and Colten Mortgage. Please check them out. Christy and I really vet our sponsors and pick only services and products we use or would use, like Flying Eyes glasses. Flying Eyes now has ophthalmics. That's regular glasses. And if you go to flyingeyesoptics.com and use the code TakingOff, all caps, one word, you will get 10% off. Thanks for watching. It helps us if you hit subscribe and watch our videos. Stay safe, and remember, superior judgment trumps superior skills. I'm saying that to me.
Here at Colten, we put the loan on our back. I always picture of whenever a loan is about to close, or especially with the purchases of homes, I picture a little family and a white picket fence, and I want to get them their home. It's not just about money here at Colten and getting the loan closed. From a business perspective, it's about getting a family a new home. It's one of the most important purchases in your life, and we really carry that weight with us as we're processing and closing your loan.